Hi, it's Chi here and welcome to my Frugal Living Weekly Podcast. Well, the kids have gone back to school, and whilst I love having my little boy at home with me, it can be a bit of a worry trying to entertain him on a tight budget, but we manage despite the February weather. But today I want to talk to you about being frugal. For me, being frugal means being smart about the choices I make. It doesn't always mean buying the cheapest, as this isn't necessarily the most cost-effective way. So, for example, buying the cheapest washing powder that shop's own value brand isn't necessarily cost-effective. I mean, sometimes it's difficult to get out those stains from the children's clothes where they've been running around in the garden and messing about. You may need to wash the clothes several times to get those stains out. So, in my opinion, that isn't necessarily frugal and cost-effective. I find it better to spend a bit more money on a better product. But of course, managing to buy it with coupons and using shop apps where possible. But for me and my family, being frugal also means looking after our health. I hear you say, how can that be frugal? Well, I'll give you one example. I recently, back in August last year, decided to change my diet to a plant-based diet, which basically means I eat a vegan diet. I did this for health reasons. I was suffering from migraines quite badly, and I can honestly say since August I haven't had a migraine, and I'm really pleased. I'm not saying that cutting out all dairy and meat products is the way to cure a migraine. I'm not saying that at all. But for me, it seems to have done the trick. And nor am I doubting for one day I will probably have another migraine. But at the moment, I'm happy with the results that looking after my health has done. But it also means I've managed to lose 36 pounds, which I'm really pleased with, and I'm hoping that I will lose some more. But you're asking, how can looking after your health and eating a plant-based diet or some other diet help you save money? Well, here's the one thing that I want to tell you. By not having migraines and looking after our health, I've managed to save money by not having to go to my GP for prescriptions, and I've also managed to save money by not having to buy over-the-counter medications. So that is quite a considerable saving. I will in the future do a podcast and write up some bits and pieces and put on my website about eating a plant-based diet and how it's worked for me and what I eat and how I managed to incorporate it in my tight budget. Another way, and I think it's one of the most important aspects of being frugal, is by being organised. For me, being organised is the key to being frugal and keeping our budget on track. So, for example, like I've mentioned before, keeping my cupboards in order so I know what I need to buy and don't need to over-purchase. But also by ensuring that my finances are on track and also reviewing them every 3 months. I've recently, in the last few days, reviewed our budget and finances, and I've worked out everything for the next 3 months, so I know what I'm doing and where I'm going, and I'm all organised. In our house, we like to joke that virtually every aspect of our life has been frugalised. We put great effort into changing our family's circumstances and taking control of it, so from couponing to having an allotment. But how far would you go being frugal? Is too far when it comes to being frugal. Some people see paying for their shopping with coupons and using apps as a step too far. Others think that chickens and self-sufficiency is the way to go. But have you ever considered being frugal can be more than just smart with your money and being organised around your home? I was recently inspired to investigate people who practice extreme frugalism. So all you have to do is Google extreme frugality and you will get all sorts of information. But you will also get the American TV show Extreme Cheapskates, who show how they manage their life in a frugal manner and how they save their money. In fact, a lot of people will call them cheap more than frugal. So they practice things like sharing their bath, 1 bath of water for 4 people. Or maybe they cook their food in their dishwasher. It's shocking. I know it sounds awful. The food must taste terrible. But like I say, how far would you go? Perhaps foraging. Now, I'm a lover of foraging for free food in the countryside and along the lanes. It not only provides a free source of fruit for my family, it allows me to reminisce and enjoy an activity with my children and my parents. And out of it, we can gain, say, for example, when we pick blackberries, lovely bramble jelly, fruits, pies, tarts, cakes, sweets and cordials. How about dumpster diving? Yes, I said dumpster diving. Have you tried that? Would you try that? Would you go through other people's rubbish or go through the back of the bins at the supermarkets to see if you can find any fruit, vegetables or produce that is being thrown out because it's out of date or the tins are damaged or whatever state? Would you do that? Have you ever done your washing in the children's paddling pool or a swimming pool in the summer? I personally haven't done my washing up on my washing in the leftover paddling pool water. I have actually used the water to wash the dog's bedding and wash the garden down and water the plants in the summer. But of course, any water left over will automatically go into the water butts to save. Perhaps you recycle your grey water. So, for example, do you have a bucket in your shower? We actually have a bucket in our shower. We use it to flush the toilet to save money because we have a water meter. But we also use it, like I say, to wash the garden down out in the backyard and to water our plants with. But I did gasp at one frugal activity that some people do like to partake in, and that is something called eating roadkill. Yes, I said roadkill. Some people like to pick up the dead animals that have been unfortunate enough to be run over by the traffic. So the little rabbits and maybe pheasants, squirrels, and all sorts of other animals, they take home, they cook up, and some go in their freezer. Even seagulls. This isn't something that I've ever done and not likely to ever do, but I just wonder, have you ever tried it? Do you know someone who has? In the past, when I used to eat meat, yes, I have eaten rabbits, but I'm not likely to pick it up off the side of the street and take it home and cook it for a pie. You know, I recently read an article on the internet that suggested that extreme frugality may be a sign of mental illness. They stated that whilst being thrifty empowers people to thrive on tight budgets, this, however, excessive frugality may be a symptom of obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know if it's whether it is a sign or a symptom of mental illness. What do you think? Do you think frugality is a sign of mental illness? Or do you think it's just people taking frugality too far? Is it all-consuming? What are your thoughts? You know, I got thinking about this a little more, and I realised that the ultimate extreme frugality, or frugalism, was during the Second World War. Rationing was in place, growing our own was the norm. Farmers and communities were asked to turn every piece of open land into areas to grow fruit and vegetables. So basically that we could sustain our nation, not individually, but as a nation. It seems to me that this is the ultimate frugality. There was also the Make Do and Mend campaign. And recently I discovered that in the Second World War, homeowners were asked to remove the iron railings from outside their homes, asked to bring any metal pots and pans for collection so that the metal could be melted down and used in the war effort, in the ammunition and building, I do believe, of aeroplanes, for example. Another way in the Second World War was to pick rose hips along the country lanes. Rose hips are an excellent source of vitamin C, and of course in the Second World War they weren't able to access citrus fruits because they couldn't get them across the Atlantic Ocean. And I believe that in the Second World War this was a classic example of frugalism, making use of what you had. So we could do worse than learn from our elders and ask our grandparents and perhaps our parents how things were done in those days. Can also go back even more and look at how people would wash in tin baths in front of the fire, how they would share one bath of water with the whole family and to keep themselves clean. This was done on a weekly basis. In those days, like I say, that was seen as the norm, and that's how they managed their finances and how they managed their home life. It cost them money to boil up that water and to use that soap. So I don't think being frugal is an exclusive thing to this 21st century. It's been going on forevermore. But should we sit in front of a fire today and bath our children once a week and we all share the water? It would be seen as extreme frugalism. Although in our house we don't do that, primarily because we don't have a tin bath. I do just want to go back to one of the extreme frugal examples that I gave. In fact, I'm passionate about this one, and this is one activity that I enjoy every year with my children. Always have done and always will do. I've did it as a child, and even still my parents enjoy coming along for the adventure and the great fun. And that is foraging, primarily for blackberries. Although I personally forage for other things, but my parents just love to forage for blackberries in the woods, along the hedgerows, along the country lanes. It is an amazing experience. But I'm somewhat shocked at the response that I receive when I say to people I love to forage for free food. It's automatically assumed that I dumpster dive or at worst steal food. But no, I do not take part in either of these activities. I keep firmly on the side of the law. I'm amazed at how we have lost the art of foraging and have forgotten how in history this was quite simply how we would feed ourselves and our families. It wasn't all that long ago that we in the UK, like I said, would forage in the Second World War for rose hips and picked and used to make a syrup to help combat vitamin C deficiency occurring. Like I said, blackberry picking has always been and still is something that we do as a whole family. And so lots of apple and blackberry pies, jams, cordials, crumbles always ensue following these late summer adventures. I have to admit though, I take great pleasure out of utilising what Mother Nature has provided for us. I love to pick those jewel-encrusted hedgerow bushes. The wild woods and fields fill me with delight when the seasons change, revealing their new bounty. With this free abundance comes the opportunity to make delicious recipes and create home remedies. However, I have to point out it would be advisable to do your homework before you start picking. A good guide would be a great place to start. You can access information easily from the internet and also from your local library where you can obtain the books for free. There's many edible plants, berries, fungus and seaweeds, but knowing what you're eating is essential. Not everything is edible, and some are incredibly poisonous. And also some plants are rare and protected. There is one thing that I would advise. It is essential that you ensure that you are aware of the countryside code for foraging. I'd also recommend you get permission from the landowner and ensure that you are aware of the law within your area. I would also suggest that you avoid picking from roads where there has been high traffic volumes to avoid car exhaust contamination. It goes without saying, but to pick only what you plan to use. Only pick the fruits, berries, nuts and leaves. Leave the roots intact and untouched. Be careful of your surroundings. Avoid damaging other plants and animal habitats. Remember to keep to designated paths as much as possible. Do not trespass or cause damage to other people's property. And only pick what you're sure of and have been able to identify, ensuring that it is safe to consume. If in doubt, don't pick. Always ask a professional. I really recommend that you take your time to go foraging. But it's not only just blackberries that you can pick. You can also try the crab apples. They make wonderful summer fruit jams and jellies. You could try making your own rose hip syrup. It's excellent on ice cream. How about later in the season, try picking the blackthorn or the sloe berries, and for that great, wonderful drink, the sloe gin. In your parks and in the woods, why not pick the sweet chestnuts where they fall off the trees? They're easily identified with their prickly exterior, looking like hedgehogs. Excellent to put in soups. There are so many things that you can forage for and eat and are free. So I really recommend that you take the time to go foraging. I believe it is essential that we show and teach the younger generations how to provide for themselves and continue to keep this skill alive. I would really love for you to share your foraging experiences. What did you get up to when you was a child? Did you make apple and blackberry pies? Whatever it was you got up to. Like I say, what about your extreme frugal methods? What do you do? What do you class as extreme? So please leave your comments below, or maybe join me over on Facebook. You can also join me on Twitter, Google Plus and Instagram for all things Frugalista. If you've liked this podcast, why don't you press the like button and give me a thumbs up, or maybe subscribe to my channel. So anyway, don't forget to stay frugal, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care, bye.